mystery writers. This is Mystery Fix. My name is Zara Altair, and today I want to talk about one good way that you can use to keep that middle from sagging. And today we're going to concentrate on the first part of the middle up to the midpoint. And in a mystery, that really covers the discovery process that your sleuth goes through to gather information about the victim. This is what I call entering the victim's world. At this point in time, your sleuth is actually creating the puzzle pieces. He's not putting them together yet. He's just creating the puzzle pieces. He's discovering as much as he can about the victim and the victim's world and who was in it. And one of the great things you can use with this is dialogue. Because your sleuth is taking the next steps to unearth the possible suspects, and as he starts interviewing and he visits close friends and work colleagues and the coffee shop owner where the victim went each morning, he begins to create a picture of the victim's world. But at the same time, and this is what's so great about writing mysteries, your sleuth develops, the picture he develops is sort of like the blind man and the elephant. One suspect says one thing and another suspect says another thing, and he gets these divergent aspects of the victim and the victim's world. So each person he interviews has their own version of who the victim was and how the victim operated in that world. And as a writer, you lead your reader through a maze of conflicting perceptions about the victim. And I think this is a really fun part of creating a mystery and keeping your readers on board so they don't get lost. The discovery process occurs in the first half of the middle up to the midpoint. And at this point, your sleuth is essentially collecting evidence. Depending on what type of mystery you're writing, it's still evidence collecting, and he or she is assorting. I just made up a word. Is attempting to sort out the victim's life through the interviews and the people attached to the victim, the suspects. And the main way your sleuth interacts with those suspects is through dialogue in your story, and this is your opportunity to play, because your sleuth learns about the suspects through their demeanor, their dress, their actions, but dialogue is the most direct way you can set up your mystery, because every suspect has their personal secrets. And as your sleuth asks questions and the suspect works to keep the secret a secret, you're confounding your sleuth and you're confounding your readers. Now, the secret the suspect has may or may not bear on the victim's death, and that's where you're creating all these puzzle pieces, because eventually it's going to be your sleuth's job to sort out which pieces of information bear on the actual death and which were constructs of the suspect that they wanted to keep a secret, or they didn't want to be forthcoming about something, and so they talk around the point or answer indirectly. So your sleuth and your readers must interpret what each suspect says to discover the truth. And your job as a writer is to make each suspect as suspicious as possible. At this point, you're opening up the possible connections to the victim's death. So what they say and how they act toward the sleuth creates a suspicion. You want to make sure that every suspect has avenues to use in dialogue to heighten that suspicion. This is your job in this section of your novel. So let's take a look at a few of them. So there's subtext, and that's the unspoken thoughts and motives of characters, which is what they actually think and believe as opposed to what they say. So subtext is a powerful method to convey a suspect's, let's call it, prevarication. Subtext leaves what is said open to interpretation, and it's up to your sleuth to decide what is the truth, all right? And what he decides in the discovery process can change later when he reviews what he learned from each suspect. But right now, there's just all this information is coming in to your sleuth and to your reader. And another way that you can confound things in dialogue with a suspect is a deliberate lie. So the deliberate lie gives the sleuth the wrong impression, because at this point in time in the story, they don't know enough about the victim, the victim's world, or this suspect to realize that it is a lie. And until your sleuth discovers the suspect told an untruth, your sleuth bases his actions on false information. So you can plant the lie now to expose it later in the story. And this works whether you're a planner or a pantser. Either way, if your suspect tells a lie, it's up to your sleuth to discover that it is a lie. And then another way that you can counter this subtext and lies is a suspect who's seemingly totally cooperative. The suspect openly answers every question posed by the sleuth without hesitation, and it's up to you to decide if one of these answers is a lie. But if you set up your character in your character Bible, each suspect has a secret and a lie they tell to hide the secret. And part of your job is to use those secrets and lies to create the mystery of your mystery. So enhance your suspect's dialogue by giving each suspect a unique voice as well. So they're going to have social position and their craft or occupation, their family heritage, and their personality all influence how they speak. So color that dialogue with the suspect's unique attributes. Doing so, you will minimize your need to add dialogue tags, and the reader will know who is speaking without a lot of Jim said and Sue said and all that sort of tagging. So the main point of going to these suspects and having them answer questions posed by your sleuth is to create a middle without a sag. At this point, you're building and building and building suspicion. And your sleuth has not narrowed down anything. He's gathering all the pieces of the puzzle in order to get them ready to put together. So in this section, the sleuth is gathering information, collecting the pieces, and he's nowhere near solving the mystery, and neither is your reader. And that's what you want to keep in mind. You want to keep this as everything at this point is up in the air. So each scene with a new suspect is a chance to plant doubt in your reader's mind, and dialogue with each suspect reveals more of the victim's world as your sleuth tries to understand the victim and why they were killed. So, as you raise your questions in the reader's mind, you build conflict for the sleuth and keep readers turning pages. So, that's mainly what I wanted to talk about today, using dialogue, creating those puzzle pieces, and building the mystery in the first part of your middle. And I hope this helps. And as always, feel free to ask me any questions and keep writing.